everyone, it's Nina. Thanks for joining me today for a new video. I always love making my holiday tags each year, and today I thought I would share a fun, quick and easy tag project, and you can definitely use this idea to make multiples if you want to make a whole bunch to go with your gifts this year. Also keep in mind that I may have used pinks, teals, and reds for my tags, but you could swap out the colors for whatever colors you prefer, or if you're trying to match them up with your holiday gift wrap, you could change up the colors so that way they coordinate beautifully. These tags would also be super cute if you wanted to use them on top of a card as the focal point for your card design. Lots of ways that you can use this idea, so hopefully you're inspired and you're going to want to create these adorable little trees too. First, I'm going to work on my background. I'm using this snow pattern stencil from Simon Says Stamp. It is really pretty. I'm going to put this on top of a piece of white cardstock. Just so happens to be an A2 size piece of cardstock, but I'm just using something that I can then die cut later with a couple of tag dies. I've attached both the paper and the stencil onto Simon Says Stamp's stamp and stencil mat. It's going to hold everything in place as we do our ink blending. And as you can see, I'm using peony ink from Simon Says Stamp. I'm going to color this in a little bit of a variegated pattern so that way I have some darker and lighter areas. That'll make the background a little bit more interesting. I'm not going to remove the stencil just yet because we are going to put some paste on top. I'm going to use transparent texture paste. Any transparent paste will work for this. And I'm just going to apply it through the stencil right over top of all of our ink blending. And this will dry, of course, clear because as the product suggests, it is transparent. And that's basically the key here. You want something that's going to still show that beautiful color that we added through it. Now I'm going to go ahead and carefully peel this stencil off of my stamp and stencil mat and the paper. You can see our pretty pattern here. I'm going to fold the mat so that way I can gently release the paper off of this. These stamp and stencil mats are super durable, so you're not going to damage it by folding it like this. And that fold will allow the paper to release easily. To clean my mat, I'm just going to spray a cloth with some of the stamp and stencil mat cleaner. I have it linked below in the video description along with everything else. And I just wiped everything off of the mat. It comes off really clean, and so now it's ready for my next project. Alright, so our paste is still wet, and this is key because you want to make sure that the paste is wet so that it will hold the glitter. I'm using Simon Says Stamp Unicorn Dust Glitter. It's a staple that I often use for holiday projects. So once I've covered my entire background with the glitter, we're going to then set this aside to dry. It did take a little bit of time to dry because I did put quite a bit of paste on there. But once it was dry, I took a couple of dies that I had in my stash to die cut the paper. The dies that I'm using are the CZ Design nested tag dies on the left, and then the one on the right is actually a retired die set that I have in my stash, but I'm going to link to a set from Elizabeth Craft Designs that is basically the exact same thing, and it's a nested tag die set too, so that way you can go ahead and die cut a whole bunch of different sizes of that same shape, which is a really good one. I'm going to pull out some pattern paper that I have that's called Baking Spirits Bright from Simple Stories. I picked this teal pattern, which I think is fun, and we're going to die cut this with the Simon Says Stamp and CZ Design Wonky Trio die set. These trees are adorable because they can be made in all sorts of different styles. There are 3 that get cut all at once if you keep the dies connected, which I always find helpful. And then there's also a little stem die that you can use to put behind the trees, and then that will allow you to stick your trees onto these fun little stems, and you can customize it to fit the height that you want for your tree. I've die cut this a couple of times from some Nina Desert Storm cardstock, and I'm going to then glue those stems onto another piece of white cardstock that I've die cut those wonky trees from. And this is going to not only hold the stem in place, but also gives me a place to glue my pattern paper piece so that way it has a little bit more stability. And then I'm just going to lay this on top of my tag to get an idea of how tall I want my tree to be. Once I have it assembled to my liking, then I'll press everything together really well to sandwich that stem between the 2 trees. And I'd repeated this process for both of my tags. So even this little smaller tree, I put the stem a little bit higher up on the tree so that way it would be a bit shorter coming out of it. Now you could leave them as is, or you can add a little bit more extra special pizzazz. So I'm going to put some gem stickers from Rainbow Splash in between some of these little snowflake shaped images on the pattern paper, which I think is really fun. It dresses up the trees a little bit, and I also like the pop of red, which will tie in with some ribbon here to finish off the tags. I'm using my Simon Says Stamp Place and Pierce tool to help me get those little gems stuck onto my trees because they are quite tiny and they're perfect for little ornaments. How cute are these? Okay, to adhere them onto my tags, I'm just going to use some foam squares. I use smaller foam squares for the little tree, and then for the larger tree, I actually used some larger 3D foam squares just because it was big enough to fit behind that tree shape. Once I have my trees attached, I did decide to add a little snowy hillside below them. You don't have to, but I thought it would be fun to add that little extra touch. So I'm just going to freehand some wavy hills from some white glitter cardstock from Simon Says Stamp. And then I'm going to line this up on my tags just to see where I'm going to be placing my little hillsides. And to adhere them, I'm going to use Simon Says Stamp red line tape. This tape I use for a lot of things that are more difficult to adhere. So in this case, because our tags have glitter on them and we want to adhere this paper on top, I find that a red line tape works super well for this. And once I have my hillside attached, and then I just trimmed off the excess to clean it up. And I'll repeat this process for both of my tags. The nice thing about the red line tape is that it doesn't have any dry time required, so it makes the process super fast. These tags are coming together real quick, but the last thing I wanted to do was finish them off with a little bit of ribbon. So I pulled out some red ribbon that I had in my stash, and I'm just going to slide the ribbon through the holes of the tags and then just tie an overhand knot. And I think this is super cute because it adds a little bit of some interest with that knot at the top of the tag, and it also keeps it simple. So then I'm going to trim down the tags with a little bit of an angled cut. I always like an angle cut on my ribbon. It looks pretty, but you could also cut them with like little banner ends, however you'd like. And check it out. We have these adorable tags in no time at all that are super, super cute. So like I said, you could change up the colors and create these tags to match your wrapping paper. And these would also be adorable as little embellishments on top of your cards too. I hope you were inspired by these tag ideas. Tags are always such a fun and festive project to make during the holiday season. If you're curious about any of the products that I mentioned today, you can find them in the video description or over on my blog. And if you enjoyed this video, I hope you'll give it a big thumbs up and subscribe if you don't already. I will be back soon to share more with you all, but until next time, I hope you have a wonderful day and thanks for watching.